And hello and welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Secrets. I'm your host, Nikki Colon, and I am so excited to be here today. I had such a great time last night, and I couldn't wait to get back, even though I'm exhausted, to come and share our Squatchy night in Cloudcroft. But before I do that, let me say hello to everybody in the chat. Hello. Oh, good morning, UFO. How are you? Brian and Chewy, good to see you in the house. Henry May, hi. There's Miss Sandra, good to see you. She sent me a little message. Are you going to be live? Yes, I'm coming as fast as I can. Oh, there's Sasquatch Wizard. Hi, Jonathan. How are you doing? Let me see. Who else do we have? Oh, I'm sure we have more watching. It says we've got some more people's coming in. But thank you guys for being here. You know how much I appreciate that. But yeah, what a blast. You know, it was a quick little overnight trip to Cloudcroft, New Mexico. And I ecstatic to have a guest with me tonight, and we may have a couple more jump on, but let me pull up my next guest. Kyle, it's just Kyle, guys. Say hi to Kyle. He is the newest member of Sasquatch Secret Research. I don't know. We're fooling around with some names. We're going to figure out something. But I have been talking to Kyle for over a year. He is from just south of Cloudcroft, and he's interested in Bigfoot. So how are you doing, Kyle? Long time no see.
Yeah, no kidding. If you hadn't had enough of me last night, here I am again. So happy to be here. Looking forward to the stream and meeting some of the viewers. We had a blast, and I can't wait to get in and talk about it.
Yes. Hey, Jen, welcome in. Good to see you. Jen is getting ready. Jen, Trackway, Wizard, all of our groups are getting ready for the Whitehall event, and they're getting their gear ready, and it's going to be an amazing time for them. I'm sad I couldn't be there, guys, but I'll try to plan for it for next year. It's going to be an amazing event, and hopefully everybody can start shooting videos and let us in on all that if you get signal. Man, last night I tried to get a show going for you guys while we were out there on the fire, but I had one little bar, and it was just that doom, roaming. So I know Jen let me know that, are you having a live or not having a live? And I go, well, I tried, but now I can't even get in to delete it. So if you saw that last night, that's what happened. I attempted. We were very far up on the mountain, so we were getting a little bit of signal. Scott got a lot of signal, actually, but I think the rest of us, we were all pretty much nothing. Yeah, big zero for sure. But so Saturday was Mescalero Apache Tribal Bigfoot Town Hall. And this was sponsored by Squatch America. So Scott and Hannah were there and were our gracious hosts presenting Bigfoot stuff, wanting to hear from the people of the area and to see if they had any experiences with Sasquatch. And lo and behold, there were quite a few. I mean, a lot. I saw a lot of nods, but it's kind of hard to get, people are a little shy, but we did get some stories to come out, some encounters. And how did you feel getting there, Kyle? Because I got there and Kyle's like, Nikki, came out. And I'm like, whoa, okay, no, it was good. It was cool. We sat and listened to the whole presentation, but what was your overall feeling about when you got to the event?
It was so last second. I had found out from my wife's friend only a couple days prior, and I immediately fired off a message to you trying like, oh my gosh, are you going to this thing? So, and then I had to get the address from you, and I posted on the local Facebook page to try to get some people up there. We got up there, and they were setting up, and it was unfortunate. It was right next to a highway, so you had the 18 wheelers and whatnot driving by the stage, so it's kind of hard to hear at some points. But I think the local Mescalero Apache tribe, the majority of the audience was them, and they shared some of their stories. It was really kind of lukewarm at first. They, just like any town hall, a subject that's considered high strangeness, you're going to have people really gun shy about whether or not they're going to jump in with their stories. And just slowly, little by little, we had people of all ages there. It was pretty awesome to hear some of the different stories. And Nikki got a pretty good head count, I think, there. But I learned
a little over 50. Yeah, it was a little over 50. They were scattered, but it was good, but it's hard you keep telling them, come closer, well, I think, and nobody moved.
All the Bigfooters were weirdos and they didn't want to be associated with them, or did they stink, or am I going to get cut, or what have you? But people started to open up, and it was really good.
Yeah, but Hannah went around and she gave them the mic and let them give their experiences, and it was amazing. There was a couple of places that came up consistently.
Yes.
Where they had their sightings. And I'm not going to say it here because we're going to be going and we're getting permissions, and we've got some ins now to the tribe. So we're hoping to go do some stakeouts in these areas because they say they're seeing Bigfoot.
It was really surprising. There were stories kind of all over the reservation, which would be expected. And the witnesses, they ranged in all manner of professions. I'm sure we'll get into some of the people we met. I'll let you guide us into that. But yeah, like you said, it was that one location, and it kept coming up and up and up. And Nikki and I are looking at each other like, write that down. So yeah, we're pretty excited. We'll get out there and get you guys some content for that. So
right. It should be exciting, but once again, it is on the reservation, so we do have to have tribal permission to do that. During all of this, Scott does an amazing job at his presentations because he's got experience from all over the U.S., not just one place. So, and he's made some incredible contacts. So it was really great hearing from him, and of course with Hannah, it's such a comedy kind of routine too, So it was really funny, and it was good. Now at the end, well, during the listening to everybody, it came right away. I noticed, oh my gosh, that's a tribal officer who's talking. And one of the comments he made was, how did he say it? Dozens and dozens, or how did he put it?
The way he had put it, he introduced himself. He said, I'm Officer so-and-so, 22-year veteran of the Mescalero Apache Police Department. Many of you know me. He said, during my time as an officer on the reservation, I probably received as many calls about Bigfoot and kind of high strangeness as any other criminal activity. And he said he responded to them, all sorts of them, and then he kind of shared one of his personal experiences with it. So definitely credible witness, trained observer. So it's exactly the type of
he was very straightforward, he knew what he was talking about. So I think Kyle did a beeline as soon as it was over. It almost looked like you were jumping over people to get to this guy, before he left. So you could make that contact. And I think that's what it takes. You got to contact these people in the areas. Mm-hmm. And during that time, we also made contact with a young couple there, and they were super excited about telling us their stories and their encounters, and it was super interesting. And then they said, you know, well, where you're going back? And I said, well, I'm gonna head over to Cloudcroft. I'm gonna go stay the night. You know, I'm gonna just go see what happens. And I'm like, so you ready to go out, Kyle? You know, go get your gear. You're only about 20 minutes away. Go get it, and we'll go up there for the night. And there goes the wheels, you know, starting. But I told this young couple, it's Anthony Bernino, and Adeline May. They're engaged, and they were going to go out camping. And I said, well, come join us, you know, come out there. And that's what we did. I dropped pins to Scott and Kyle and Anthony and Adeline. And that's what we did. We went over. I followed Kyle to his compound out
Yeah.
in where?
The remote viewing compound.
Yeah.
I'm following my wife.
Oh my God, I'm following a stranger out here. Yeah. What's going to happen to me?
I live kind of out in the country for those that don't know. So the whole time I was thinking, oh my gosh, the things that must be going through Nikki's head. And I'm feverishly calling my wife like, oh my gosh, please. I really want to go. You know, his professional outfit. Scott from Squatch America is going to be there. And he's like this really big deal. And like, now I'm like a little deal. So like, you know, I'm just trying to ride the coattails, but yeah, we went and gathered a couple supplies, and Nikki, we'll probably come back to it when we talk about our night, but she says, grab wool socks. I said, I'm not going to need wool socks. I'm not going to need them. She says, grab them and you sleep with them. And right before you go to bed, take your old socks off and put your wool socks on, because it's going to be cold. And well, yep. She was right about that. So
yeah, it was cold. It was really cold. But such, that's how it goes, right? You just go through it. It was just going to be one night. So you just kind of hunker down and cover yourself up. And I was in the back of the cab of the truck, and he was in his. And of course, Scott was elevated up to the top Squatch level in his little
he has a retractable ladder, so he can protect himself in case of any mischievous squatches. Pull the ladders up and watch us get eaten.
Did you notice how we were on the outside and he was in the middle?
Absolutely. I mean, he's a professional watcher. He knows how those things go.
Yeah.
And poor Anthony and his fiance were kind of up on the hill in their little remote tent, and we didn't know if they were going to make it through the night, but
they were way back in there, and I thought, dang, that boy's not afraid. He's not afraid. He's just saying, oh, I get it back here. He actually reminded me a lot of a very young Brent in how he never stopped moving. That boy was up and down. He must have gotten 10 loads of firewood, you know, that night. And I'm going too fast. First, okay, when we first arrived there for the town hall, I have to show you what greeted us. This is what greeted us. Hey, everybody, just got to Mescaleto. Got greeted by a little herd of elk. Ooh, they're going to cross that road with those cars going that fast. Wow, I guess they're going to come to the town hall. But that bull comes and he rounds them up and takes them back the way they came.
Yep.
It was crazy, but there's a lot.
For anyone who hasn't been there, so kind of layout of the area, you have the Mescalero Apache Tribe Reservation. What's it at? It's probably at 6,000 feet elevation or so. And then you go up the mountain a little bit more, and it's the resort town of Ruidoso, where we unfortunately had those fires this year. that kind of decimated so many homes and lost a few lives. But never have I ever been up the mountain and not seen elk. So that ever. And they're very large animals. If you've never seen one in person, they are much larger than deer. So that was a pretty cool way to start our town hall.
For sure. So that's how it started. And I have another video of once we had lunch, and thank you very much for lunch. That Kyle picked up the tab on that, and it was I was grateful. Thank you. And we dropped the pins, and I go, okay, hopefully I put the right pin. I dropped it in the right place because I had an idea of where I wanted to go. But it's hunting season. It's the weekend. It's already Saturday. Spots might already be taken. So I'm like, well, it's one way in, one way out. He's got to just go, keep going until you find us. But we went, and no, the spot was open that I wanted. We got there. We figured out there was enough room for all of us, and started to make camp. And you had literally just said,
yeah,
because we were going to go exploring.
Yep.
And you said, will he find us, if we're here? And no sooner had he said that,
literally
here. Crumbing up the
Squatch tank coming up the hill.
Squatch tank, yeah. So I'm gonna let you guys watch that for just a sec. Here you go.
Howdy, stranger. You want to back in? This is for you.
Yeah, we made this room for you. Well, this is our place for the night.
Hey, now. There you go. You're clear. Far back as you want to go.
Yeah, you're good.
Well, he's got a shovel. Or probably
He's got everything. I was saying I forgot my shovel.
No, I got it. I got everything. So, you got enough room left? Yeah. Over here. My tent tips out
Well, which way?
about here.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm going to get over.
I can move forward too,
Oh, yeah.
a little bit.
I'll just,
I put this here, but I can move this.
no, I just need to send this in.
Okay.
We're on that amateur game. That's perfect.
I know. I know. That'll scare some people when they see that coming down in here.
All right.
I can't wait to see this tent. You got the bird's eye view.
I know. It's
No.
Sasquatch peaking height.
That's perfect.
So there you go. That's how it all started. I
can't even believe that machine. It's this giant F350. I don't know if we have any more footage of this thing or any pictures.
I do have some.
Of the Squatch tank?
Let me see what I have.
So he's got the bed that pulls out, and it takes 1,500 pounds, and he pops this tent up, and then he's got a giant. Oh, there you go. You can see he's got it pulled out there, and his tent's set up, and he's got thermal cameras that go around this. If you've ever seen the Lost World Jurassic Park, it immediately reminded me of the high hide where they hide from the T-Rexes in.
Yeah.
And clearly we were the bait in this situation. So I don't know why I'm giving a thumbs up here. Like I'm about to lose my
I
life.
just was taking pictures. You both decided to do the same thing right at that time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
But
that's
we had the rest. Well, I wouldn't say the rest of the night, but until probably nightfall, we had people driving by on that road. We probably had like 2 or 3 people total drive that road, and every single one of them, they slowed down to get a look at that massive machine.
they
And,
did. They
kids in the
all
back.
stopped and hesitated, like, what? You know, it was really crazy. I'm going to real quick.
And that table behind me there is all this professional gear from different sponsors and outfitters. He has like a thermal and infrared camera that we walked up the hill to set up. And yeah, wow, what a machine.
Yeah. It's very impressive. I mean, he doesn't even have, he puts a big old pole straight up into the air, and on the top is his audio. So
Yep.
he can catch audio from miles away with this thing. And it's amazing, you know. Hopefully we get to see or hear, you know, what the verdict is. We did hear a couple of sounds last night that were
No spoilers, not yet. We'll get to it.
I want to. Right after this, we're sitting around. We had just finished, kind of setting up and chit-chatting when I call them the kids. They're so young, pulled up, and I was like, they made it, and here's a picture of them, Anthony and Adeline, and they were just so great, and they had a wealth of information. You're going to hear amazing interview that Scott did with them both. But Adeline's very well spoken and had tons of information and encounter stories. So you're going to really enjoy those. So keep an eye out for those. That Scott will come and put those out for you when he gets a chance.
And that'll be on Squatch America for the new list.
Squatch America. Where's Squatch America? Oh, look, it's the green background. I'm selling these for $1. No, I'm just kidding.
Terrible.
So, okay, hold on. Somebody just texted me. I want to make sure they were going to come.
It's Anthony and Adeline. They made for a really interesting night. We'll just put it that way. Just not
they can't make it tonight, but they say they'll come back some other time. Okay, so where are we at now?
Setting up camp. Sasquatch headquarters.
Yep.
Professional outfit. All I brought to the thing was, a pair of cheap binoculars and a headlamp and a camping chair, and you pull out the infrared binocular extraordinaire things, I'm like, oh my God, this is real. And then Scott obviously just shows both of us up pretty badly. He's like, look at this piece of equipment. Look at this piece of equipment.
I know.
He's like, I was sponsored by this company for this piece of equipment. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was pretty awesome to see all the equipment out there. And it's everything that you've probably seen before in other Squatch shows or YouTube channels. But for me, being my first time, it was pretty cool to see all that. Miss Nikki kind of gave me the rundown of what all the different pieces of equipment did.
Yeah. And then it started to get a little dark.
Mm-hmm.
And, they went to go right behind us. There was a very steep.
Very.
It did look steep, though. It looked very inviting, like you could just walk up there.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. It was very misleading.
Steep, and I had not acclimated yet. I couldn't breathe. So I got about halfway, and you and Scott continued to go up so you could put up a couple cameras and check the area. It looked, really squatchy. Adeline was saying that they had seen bear, scat, and a lot of evidence of bear right there. So we were a little hesitant, but we were covered. And
because you brought bear spray.
This
I
time I
forgot
had my
pistol at home.
Yeah.
I said, I'm gonna bring my pistol, and then I forgot the pistol. She busts out the bear spray, two-handed bear spray, and I left mine down at the thing. I said, Nikki, if a bear or a squatch runs out at us, I'm jumping behind you because I left my bear spray down the mountain
behind me.
So
yeah,
I wasn't about that life.
An hors d'oeuvre.
What a hike up that mountain, huh? Holy smokes! Geez, that was something. It's
definitely more than a calf burner. It was like the front. What is the shin splints? Oh my God. And I only went halfway. I said, I can't. Because now we got to climb back down.
Yeah.
And it was already getting dark. So it was kind of hard to see where you're going. I'm so surprised I did not fall. I usually fall at once, but I didn't.
So Scott and I kind of trailblazed ahead, and we set up a infrared camera, the standard kind of trail camera that you'd use hunting. And then we hiked probably another 30 to 40 yards up the side of the mountain, and we put up the camera trap that he was sponsored by. I don't want to say the sponsor because I'm not sure I could get it on the first try, but it what was it? It was an infrared camera trap that only turned on its IR light and snapped a picture when something moved. So whereas with the traditional camera trap, you've got the IR beam out at all times waiting to capture any sort of animal or wildlife movement, this particular camera trap just essentially sat quiet as far as what he told me. And it would pick up thermal and infrared. So two different things on the spectrum. And again, that was about 40 yards up.
Yeah, this thermal camera is like trail camera is amazing.
Yeah.
The clarity is like
just
amazing. I hadn't seen anything like that, and it's pretty spendy. And he wanted me to tell you the golf balls were all in the same place.
That's what I was going to get at. So he has these golf balls that he brings, and there was a really good stump probably 5 yards away from the big camera trap, and we put them in a triangle formation just to see if anything would come out and mess with them. So, and then we hiked back down the mountain, and boy, that was treacherous getting down. But a couple of times we slipped, but we made it. So,
yeah, it was a little bit dangerous. I knew it wasn't any problem for the kids. Okay. They went up and down like 3 times. Yeah. And, but not for my old bones. But you did really want to go out there and go out into that deep darkness.
Oh my God. I didn't know you'd bring that up. That's embarrassing.
Of course. We gave you a little radio, and I gave you the infrared, and you did your first night walk. How was that?
Oh my gosh.
Solo night walk.
Holy smoke. So you watch plenty of Finding Bigfoot, and you just really take for granted what those guys do when they're really out there alone. But, oh man, I walked down the road, I don't know, probably half a mile, 3/4 of a mile down the road, pitch black. I started off with my little red light, but the further I get, I kept getting creeped out, and I kept going back to my dad telling me growing up in northern Wisconsin, when we'd go up there on vacation, we'd walk through the woods and stuff, and he'd be like, "Ain't nothing gonna get you, Kyle. You'll be fine. Don't be a sissy." And here I am walking as a grown man up this gravel road. There's nobody around. And I ended up having to turn the bright light on. And so I was going, and nothing really happened. There's a little bit of wind. By the time I got to the end of it, I could hear from down the canyon, another group of campers. They must have had a rave or something. They had music playing and stuff. But I will tell you, I had the can of bear spray like gripped white knuckling in my hand. I was pretty freaked out, and I remember I kept the IR in my jacket because the screen is so bright and it kept washing out my night vision. And I kept turning around and hitting see if something was following me. But I'll tell you, the thing I was afraid of the most was like a mountain lion, because we have mountain lions, bear up there. There's some reports of wolves getting introduced in the southern part of that mountain chain. So didn't experience anything, nothing creepy except my own adrenaline pumping. And and then when I was walking back, a little spring in my step, like, I'm going back to civilization. I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. So
I put one of the lanterns on the hood of the truck. Yeah. So I go, here's your beacon, so you can see your way home.
And when I saw that beacon, it was just a wave of, warmth just washed over me. And I was so glad to be back in camp. But that was cool. I'm really glad that I did it and kind of braved my fears. It's something I've never done. The area in particular where we were has one of the most recent Squatch reports from the area comes from right where we were at. So there's definitely activity report in the area, and mountain lions up there and all that. So I was definitely glad to be back in the warmth of the firelight where Scott and Nikki could protect me. Yeah.
And then right after that, Anthony and Adeline wanted to go for a walk because she was scared. She didn't want to. She wanted to hang out at the fire and stuff. But Anthony was, let's go. Let's do this, And so I went with them, and we did that same walk all the way up. And you guys will get to see all those videos when I put them all together. And it was a nice little walk up there. It was uphill again, and it is so rocky, you run the risk of twisting your ankle on every step. It's not like any other hike I've done. That mountain is just one big rock. The roads are super, super treacherous. And matter of fact, after you left this morning, Kyle, I took that road all the way to see if I could find this other campsite that I had been seeing on the map. And I made it. I made it to both of them. And the road is sketchy as heck going up there because it was like dead drop off. Mm-hmm. Some of these were, okay, if I go off the edge, I may still survive. But this going up over the, nope, you're dead. It was straight down. And my truck just fit, boom, both sides.
Yeah, really mountainous terrain there.
Yeah. So now, any two-wheel drive can make it up there. Very slow, steady, you can make it. But the thing is it's commitment. You get up there, you're committed till you hit the next campsite.
Yeah.
Because there's no turning around. You can't unless you're backing out. Yeah. And I found one spot and I was like, oh, this is like just beautiful. It was so beautiful, this spot I found. But it wasn't the big one I wanted to see. And I kept going and kept trucking. And finally I hit my goal. And man, looked like a squatchy place. It had enough room for a sizable amount of people. It had an off fire road going up and out that would have been perfect to traverse, on a night hike. I didn't go up it because it was, I don't know if my truck would have fit on this road, but
what makes a place squatchy?
I think it was more of the availability of water and shelter, food. It just, there were all kinds of animals and a lot of squirrels running around. And it was, I don't know, it had all the elements. I don't know if we were too high. It was well over 9,000 elevation.
Yep.
So,
And going back to that wildlife, I mean, we heard elk bugles kind of throughout the night. And if you've never heard an elk bugle, they really carry, and they're kind of high pitched, and they carry through the canyons. And we were kind of at the zenith of one of the canyons, so it really acted like an amphitheater when we'd get a elk that bugled from down a ways. And we heard those throughout the night. So yeah, just like you said, there's a ton of wildlife and food up there for all of the animals that live up there. It is really beautiful, but you're right, it's incredibly rocky, very steep and rugged terrain. As soon as you get off the road, it's, I mean, incredibly rugged. So yeah, when you were up there walking with them, you know, I'm just picking Scott's brain and trying to learn a little bit. I think, was that you guys on the way back? He was making the elk calls.
oh,
And he
yeah,
was,
on
he
our way
tried to
back.
scare us or something. Like, dude, like, we know what an elk sounds like.
You know, that group that came in kind of late down there, we couldn't see them, but they had their music on loud.
Yeah, they did, really
I
loud.
don't think it was that many of them. They just had their music on loud. And I was like, oh, great. Well, maybe something will come in to investigate.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like a bummer or, you know, bad deal. You're still only talking about there was maybe one large group and then maybe 3 other campers out there in this
And they were, what,
particular.
about a half mile away, right?
Yeah, and they were all down below us.
Yeah.
They weren't above us. So because everybody we saw who went up came back down.
Yep.
Did you notice that? So nobody stayed
Nope,
up there.
Yeah, we were
But
definitely
anyway, Anthony says, I could do an elk call. And I go, you could do an elk call? And I go, can you do it really loud? So there you end. He's, you know, bugling. And I didn't think you guys would hear it, you know.
What was that? No. We actually thought it was a real elk, so
it sounded like an elk. Yeah,
actually pretty close. Yeah, we'll give him that. So
Anthony he's kind of a self-made man. He has his own here we go, backpacking adventures. He gear and food supplied overnight or multi-day trips. So he takes people out on hikes and to trails, wilderness areas, mountain ranges, historic towns, places, anywhere you want a guide, he will guide you in and around New Mexico. Let me see. I think he has 4 states on here: Arizona, New Mexico, California, and Colorado.
And he's really, I mean, his business and kind of what he described to me was, it was not the traditional, you know, nicely paved hiking trail. It was like deep woods, like way out.
Yeah.
And the amount of gear that he's got. So it was a lot.
It's somebody
I
serious.
was the least prepared out of everybody. And yet I'm the one on the show. Can you believe that?
Anything can happen.
Bigfooter extraordinaire. That's me. NBE.
That's Kyle, guys. We're gonna call him just Kyle. It's Kyle. Anyway, if you guys have any questions, don't forget to put those in all caps so I can see them. Let me go back up a little bit. Cloudcroft is beautiful and elk are everywhere. Yes, they are. Ed.
You think elk are everywhere in Cloudcroft? You should go to Ruidoso. They're
you can't run into the wild horses all over. And actually, Adeline was telling us how they're becoming a nuisance, the horses.
Oh, yeah, because, she did say that.
The horses are eating everything. You know, the elk and the deer are very specific eaters, but the horses will eat everything. So they're kind of decimating some of the food sources.
But I will
Um,
tell you that nothing like seeing wild horses. It really takes the cake with wildlife. Is seeing those formerly domesticated animals. And oh man, like my wife and I, when she was pregnant, pulled over to the side of the road and fed them with their hands. It's really a beautiful kind of thing.
mm-hmm. Yep. Um, Trackway says, sorry for the delay. I thought Nikki was wearing some hat. We had gotten Joe close, but just a wee bit different. My hat. Yeah, you don't get to see the hat hair right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was something to
90
behold
is
this
hot.
morning.
What was that?
I said it's something to behold this morning.
Oh yeah,
Everyone rolls out of their rigs looking like they've been
all
hit.
pearls.
Yeah,
All pearls. I go, you got to come camping if you want to see me without all my makeup. Got to see that. So then he says, Nikki, got to take that truck to some of Brent's sites and get some Cascade pinstripes. Ugh, yucky. I don't want pinstripes on my beautiful truck.
and
Although I
it
have
is
to,
a beautiful rig. I will say that. High Country Chevrolet
it's a high country.
lifted.
He's been doing me good. My little mule. My husband calls it his little mule. Do you know the movie Romancing the Stone? Pepe, the little mule.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a big truck for the cartel guy. That's why my husband calls it the little mule. Anyway, if you know, you know. They say you need a white car so that when you do get pinstripes, they don't show up as much.
That's right.
Well, I have a black truck, so they will show up. I don't think a lifted 4x4 would make it through the tunnel of forest truck love. Oh, I guess it's someplace you guys went through. Let's see. Bigfoot monster truck. It's not that monstery.
I mean, Scott's. I would equate that to a monster truck.
Yeah.
It is truly incredible.
Any questions? Anybody got any other questions? So you're totally now sucked in to Bigfooting. Are you not? Have you tasted that sweet taste?
Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to talk about what happened? You tell me. I'll go either direction.
Well, yeah, we can talk about what happened. It's the same as what it usually happens. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to hear it from you.
From
You
my
explain how the night went, because for me, it's a little bit less exciting. But there were moments. There were definitely moments.
Nikki,
So
I haven't seen somebody move so fast in quite some time as you jumping out of your chair. So I don't know about that.
Oh, that was something. I heard that, and I knew what I heard, and then I heard it twice. And there was something behind me, and there was something moving large behind me.
So I'll give a rundown, and maybe we'll make that a segment on the show every now and then. Kyle's rundown.
Cool.
So we're sitting by the fire. You know, these Bigfoot shows that you see on Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, what have you. That's really not realistically what we do when we go out into the field. You don't go around banging on trees, hooting and hollering, and hoping something shouts back. Even the guys in the TV shows will tell you that's not what they do when they're on their own. So we built up a fire. We had a nice camp. It's basically when you're going out squatching, it's camping with a purpose. It's just an excuse to get out into nature and kind of reset the soul. So we're sitting there at the fire. Nikki busts out these cheddar brats, and I was eating those, and everyone is talking, just like any campfire, scary stories and stuff. And I heard a noise way up on the ridge line that we were talking about, where we were at. And I've been out in the woods enough to know, like, not to have Bigfoot on the brain, like, oh, everything is a Squatch. So I backed away from the campfire. I went up the hill probably 10, 15 yards away from the campfire. And I will tell you, I did hear a whistle. It was a whistle at the top of the tree line, so that was pretty cool. For those that don't know, that's one of the supposed methods that Squatchers communicate. So there's not really many birds out at night to make a whistle, but it was a definitive whistle that I heard up on the ridgeline. That was pretty cool. Came back. I don't actually think any of you guys heard that. And then probably an hour or two later was probably the wildest thing that happened. And we did, man. I don't want to call it a Ohio howl, but we heard something large screaming, and it had to probably be a mile or two away at the closest.
Yeah,
it was very far away, but it was certainly not canine in how it sounded to me. From all the things I've heard, I would say, and it wasn't a bugling elk or an elk in heat or anything like that. Coyotes sometimes make real strange screaming noises, but this was much deeper that we all heard it, and it really carried. So the only thing I could potentially think of is like either a cougar or something really howling out there, or a Squatch. It was really interesting because 4 days prior to our Bigfoot town hall, somebody had recorded a very similar vocal recording, similar to the Ohio howl, if you know what that is, taken in Mescalero. And
Kyle, I'm gonna stop you just for 1 second because we got somebody popping into the back, and then we'll continue.
Oh my gosh!
All right, guys.
Scott, how are you?
I'm good.
That's good.
We're finally here to clean up this outfit. Bunch.
We are just running down the events of last night and getting to we're to the point where we were hearing, a few things out there. We don't know what they were, okay, folks, but they were interesting. They were definitely interesting, and they need definitely, with what Scott's equipment that he had going, hopefully you're going to be able to clean that up and see what we were hearing out there.
Yeah, I have, I think it was 12 and a half hours of video of audio I got to go through now. So to find those, but I'm going to get on it tomorrow. So we're going to give that a shot.
Yeah, we got to the point where I heard that whistle, and I think I was the only one that heard that whistle because I was on the other side of the campfire from everybody. And then I just described that howl that we all heard. What did you think about that first howl we heard? What did you think it could be?
Interesting, but not conclusive. I'm not sure. Once I find it in the audio and download it and listen to it a few times and see what pops up. So.
Yeah, it was pretty far off. That's for sure.
It sounded a long ways away.
Yeah.
We were literally 9,000 up. This is in regards to Squatch Talk saying you don't hear anything through the woods that far or less unless it's well elevated. We were all well elevated. We were at 9,000 elevation, and this was coming just at us, and it was far. Granted, it was far, but it did it like 4 times, or was it like 5?
It did it several times.
Several times. It wasn't just a one-off. It wasn't a one-off. It did it again and again. Because the first we all went, did we just hear something? And then it did it, and we were like, there. And then you could pinpoint where it came from, and it did it again.
I think everyone's initial reaction was that it was another camper, right? Having that skeptic mind to it. But man, when we heard it that next time, it was, hey, it was weird. I will say that it was not there was no way in heck that it was a coyote. but I was
Oh, is that the one I said it was a coyote? The second?
no. We heard coyotes again that night.
Yeah, later. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Like I said, I've heard a cougar screaming in the woods, and that is a terrifying sound if you've ever heard that. And I would say it was a cougar or something bigger. So it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And a couple hours after that, of course, sitting at the campfire, we did hear some coyotes. They were definitely nowhere near as far, but I thought I heard something proceeding and proceeding, and whatever of those coyotes, like something that may have got the coyotes howling there. But again, like Scott said, completely inconclusive, and I'm not gonna go out on and say it was a squatch. There's just no way I feel comfortable.
Yeah, that was one thing you pointed out, you know, that we did hear that sound, and then we heard the coyotes. Like, it set the coyotes off.
Yeah.
So,
which, I mean, there's reports of that, right? Of squatches howling and then coyotes kind of chiming in. And when you analyze the voice recordings with some of these experts that are out there, you can definitely tell it's two separate animals, right? So it was readily apparent to me that it was two separate animals, but again, completely inconclusive.
Mm-hmm. And I only heard the coyotes.
Yeah.
Because that's the only, you know, the last part I heard. And I'm like, oh, coyotes, dogs. That I remember. I think that's what I said.
That was a loud fire.
Yeah, we had just put in something that wasn't quite dry, so it was popping, really popping a lot. And we're like, why right now? The fire was just, you know, really quiet a minute ago. And right when we put that in,
like, oh my gosh, squatchers left, right?
Yep. Worked.
And then it was that whatever I heard behind.
Oh yeah, that was a little strange. So we were all sitting there telling our scary stories to tell in the dark, and Nikki was kind of on the outskirts of the fire, outskirts of the camp. And what did you hear, Nikki?
I just heard something moving in the brush. You know,
like
we were down below, a little bit down, and then there was a ridge all the way around us. So it felt like something was coming down at us or behind me, and not bipedal necessarily. It just sounded something large. So my mind went to bear or elk immediately that were just tromping down, coming down. Yeah. But the minute I heard it, and I just kind of, okay. But then when I heard it the second time, that's when I jumped up, because I was like, yeah, I heard something, and flipped around with the spotlight. And I started to walk up there, and then you went straight out there. No bear spray, no nothing. Like
I said,
I'm like,
I followed you after you heard it. And you were shining the spotlight, and again, we were thinking it's some sort of big animal.
I just thought it was
you never do know. But then up 20, 30 yards, there obviously was the tree line, and it's a pine forest, not deciduous, but there was actual some brush on the ground right there. Particularly, that's about the only place that had any sort of brush and ground cover. And I swear I heard something shuffling through it. So yep, you're right. I went
in the chat right now. Everybody, Anthony Bernino, that's who was out with us that night, and they'll tell you.
Jumped in the chat?
Yeah, he's in right now. So,
and you're right. I just beelined it right up the side of the.
You did. I wasn't that brave. I wasn't gonna go all the way up there.
Well, I knew Mama Nikki would have me if anything would happen.
Would have gotten the bear spray and said, "Go on."
With how quick you moved, jumping out of that chair, I felt rather safe. Like you could get to me in a good amount of time.
Probably.
Yeah. And then I picked up a rock, like you see in the TV shows, and I threw it over there. I'm lucky I didn't hit Anthony's vehicle.
Yeah.
That would have been a sour way to end the night. But
Yeah.
I figured
Yeah.
I'd do that and really kind of camp up the bit and lighten up the mood. So
Yeah.
I come down
It
and,
was a big
and I
rock.
say,
He got
Scott,
a rock that size, man. And
it
he
was.
chucked
It was actually rather large. Some would say boulder, but but I yelled down the hill to you guys and said, "Hey, I'm gonna throw a rock. Is that all right?" And I could have swore Scott says, "Yeah, go ahead, throw a rock."
Yeah.
Anyway, I come down the mountain. I'm tripping and stumbling down the mountain, and I say to Scott, "Hey, man, I threw a rock out there." He goes, "You threw a rock? Oh, you should." Oh, you shouldn't. It's like, well, if those rocks come flying back at us, they're gonna hit Nikki's beautiful high country Chevrolet pickup.
Yeah, that's it. We had that wall
Yeah.
in front of us.
Watch it take
Yeah,
this-
it was on my side.
It was. And I said to Nikki, I said, if your truck gets nailed by a rock, I will help you pay for it.
Yeah.
Because that would be just one heck of an experience, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
So
Man.
yeah, what a
Yeah.
fun time.
Hey, Nikki, I saw Finding the Trackway. He said there's also coyote hunters that use call boxes as well. Yeah, I understand that, but this was in the dark, and you're not supposed to be hunting after dark. So this is
We were
I don't know
up
how
till
late that was.
1 in the morning, 2.
Yeah, it was like 1:30, I think it was in the
yeah.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely it's all federal land up there, Lincoln National Forest, and there's plenty of Forest Service rangers that drive around. So sure, we can play the what if game. That's
Yeah.
why I'm not comfortable saying it was a squatch or anything high
Yeah.
strangeness, but
Mhm.
I will tell you, I personally don't believe it was a coyote. And I'm from the area. If you're going to hunt coyotes, you're going to do it down in the Tularosa Basin. You're not going to tramp around at
Right.
9,000 foot elevation to kill a coyote. That kind of screams credulity. So
Yeah.
And it was hunting season. What season is it, Scott? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I think it's deer.
I think-
it's too early for elk
Anthony
season.
knew. I think
Yeah.
Anthony was telling us. Anthony, if you're still around and you know which what was being hunted right now, because we did.
I know he had told me that bear season had just stopped because this
Oh, right.
new season opened. So it was. I'm pretty sure it's deer season.
with
boy, did we hear a lot of gunfire up
Rifles.
there, huh? Yeah.
Mhm.
we're hearing
There's quite a bit.
rifles. Yeah, and I thought it was archery, so that didn't mesh. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
But
good
that's
thing
a good-
Scott can go
that's a
walking
good
around the
point.
woods, right?
Needing
Shoot.
to know where you're at and what hunting season it is, and to wear orange. We were all in black out there.
Yeah, we were.
In
We're supposed to wear
the
this
dark.
shirt.
You're not supposed to say that on the stream.
Yeah.
Safety first.
No, safety's third, man. That's how Squatch America rolls.
Yeah.
But,
So there was a couple other questions. Where are they? Let me go here. Brown Dwarf had mentioned earlier, was there any talk of supernatural Bigfoot at the meeting? And he's talking about at the tribal town hall.
Mhm.
Good question. Scott, take it away.
I don't think there was. Was there? There.
No, there was.
Did I miss
There-
one? Other than my wife. But
No, so supernatural Bigfoot, I think, and I don't want to speak for Scott, but I think the team here doesn't necessarily fall into the woo category, but there's definitely, I would say, a good percentage of people out there have those questions. And I feel like a few of those questions did come up, but the way Cliff Barrickman kind of describes it and the way I prescribe to it is that you don't explain one unexplained thing with another.
mhm.
That's bad science that does not follow the scientific method. You're not going to get anywhere with that. But I believe there was a question or two that popped up, and it was the mind speak.
Oh yes, I remember that now. Yeah, there was a mind speak thing. Yeah, and like I kind of explained to the questioner who questioned this, about that, was the infrasound and how it affects us. You know, how we can't hear it, but we can feel it. So it puts us in this fight or flight mode, and it can really mess with your brain.
Yeah. And that's documented, obviously, in the animal kingdom very well, between elephants and tigers exhibiting that sort of, normal behavior. So I don't think that screams woo to say that that's a potential for, a large.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
What else?
Another question. The getting out guys. Kyle, what were you hoping to see or find at that location?
I see you. I know who that is.
Okay.
What was I hoping to see or find at the location? So I have been more in the research realm of Bigfoot tree. I've been really into it since a kid. I kind of got out of it after joining the military, and then kind of these last few years jumping back into it. I think Cliff, again, going back to Cliff Barrickman and what Nikki said to me personally out there, I think if you go out looking for Bigfoot, you're going to be disappointed 99.9% of the time. I believe if you go out there to camp and spend time with friends and in my case, learn from a professional like Hannah and Scott and Nikki here, Bigfoot's incidental to that. So my goal, what I was hoping to find, was get a wealth of information from Scott and Nikki and kind of learn more of the field research aspect of the phenomena, and not necessarily kind of get out from the academic part, the books and the documentaries and stuff like that, and kind of put those things into practice. So I can truly tell you what I was hoping to accomplish was to get really good insight from these two amazing professionals here. And mission accomplished. Boy, I probably talked Scott's ear off last night, but I asked so many questions. And I loved it. It was great camping with a purpose. Going up into the mountains, especially for us desert rats. Everything's brown down here, and going up there always lifts my soul and recharges my battery. So that's what I was hoping to accomplish, and we did it.
Yep. 1 second.
You can hunt them after dark, I suppose. I watched a video where a farmer killed like 70 of them. It was incredible.
But I wasn't sure you could do it on
federal land.
Yeah, up on in Sacramento mountains.
Yeah, which is all federal land. It's the majority of it's federal land. There's not very much private land up there, so I could be wrong. Don't bite my head off, chat, but pretty sure hunting is kind of like a no-go once the sun goes down. But hey, what do I know?
Yeah, I just Googled it and looked it up, and and that's exactly correct. It says you can hunt them on private land, but not in the national forest after dark. It is not permitted.
Yeah. It's a danger thing, it's
incredibly dangerous. Again, like I said, imagine Scott walking around and somebody sees that and thinks they see a Bigfoot. Like, you got to be careful, Scott.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think there was another question. Let me see.
Papa Tim, you got a question? Put it in the chat.
If you have another question, please put it in all caps so I can find it. Otherwise, I bypass it. Just let it keep on going.
So, what did you think, Scott, about my questions I asked? So, for a lot of people are tuning in because they don't really know how deep my hobby of Bigfooting goes, and all of my previous. I feel like I'm kind of knowledgeable about a lot of the stuff, but what do you think about my questions and stuff?
Oh, I think they're pretty legit. I mean, you actually have a lot of knowledge. You have a lot of like the internet historical knowledge that is really good to have, before you get out in the field, but there's some little techniques that we learn over the years, like the not howling at the moon, and knocking on trees and stuff like that. And then the little tricks about the gifting stuff, but that takes a lot of time, and you got to find an area where you've had fine footprints first, basically, and then you can start working on the habituation kind of stuff. But as far as like just our little overnight adventure, I mean, I think we did pretty good, and I think you asked some really good questions.
Yeah.
Nikki, have you let your audience?
Did we burst your bubble a little bit, or I did, about maybe some? Just a little. You just want the whole story. You can still have your heroes out there.
So what Nikki's referencing is, I'm not going to name names.
No, don't do that.
There were several questions I asked. They say never meet your heroes. Some people you think are a pretty rotten individual privately, turns to find out they're a very welcoming and giving and humble person. And so some people you really think are like that. And Scott basically has a Rolodex of all the top people in the field. I promise you, he showed me the phone. He showed me the text. He really does. I was like, are you kidding me? This is nuts. Anyway, and I asked them a few questions about some of the, what would that be called? Popular people, but popular people in the field, not popular people to just the regular mainstream audience. So not necessarily popular in just the Bigfoot community, but popular that people would know. And I asked about certain individuals, and some got glowing reviews. Oh, that individual, they're so great. Yada yada. And that individual, he's a fill in the blank. So that was kind of a theme over the night. You never want to meet your heroes. But I did get to meet two of my heroes in Scott.
Keep it coming.
East LA, Mescalero Apache Reservation, great restaurant. Their enchiladas were on point.
Yeah, it was. Anthony, I'm curious. Tell me what happened after you left. Did something happen? Tell
What do you
me.
mean you left?
I don't know. He asked, do you want to know what happened after we left?
Oh.
I do. I want to know what happened after you left.
Yeah.
Anthony, you're going to tell the audience how you kept trying to scare me all night. You'd go out for wood and you'd make hoops and howls. Go to relieve myself, and then you'd hear hoops and howls. You go walking up the road, and you're coming back from relieving yourself. That was a little bit awkward, wasn't it? So, Nikki, does the audience know about the report that you investigated that happened right here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a whole video. You have to go back and look at it.
You don't want to give them a quick recap, especially for Papa Tim? I know you're watching.
Well, that area intrigued me because I had run into EC, and a lot of you know who EC is, from my channel. But I went to her actual site there, just down at the bottom. Well, not quite down at the bottom, but when you first enter this area, and took her, she took me to her sighting spot, and she told me her sighting, very detailed sighting of Sasquatch that ran past her and down the hill. And we walked out a ways, and it's just a beautiful overlook. From this particular overlook, you can see Alamogordo and White Sands National Park down there. And I'm like, whoa, this is an amazing area. So that's what started me looking in this particular area. And of course, I went down, these other trails, and systematically I've been hitting one site closer more in. As I go in, my comfort level goes up, because usually I'm doing day trips. I'm not out there all night long. Sometimes just a couple of times I've been. So, it's kind of new for me too, to be doing that by myself. And I'm more like to be around the group situation. So I was quite pleased when I managed to wrangle up Kyle and Scott and Anthony and Adeline to come out and spend time with me. So, but I think we had a great time. We all got along just great, and a lot of laughs, and that's what you really hope for when you're sitting around the fire. Is a lot of joking. And just wait till Scott puts out his interview with Adeline and Anthony. You guys are really going to enjoy that for sure.
Yeah, they little off the wall having them there. It was interesting. Different way to squatch, but oh my gosh, why would you publicly post that comment? That's terrible. What, you didn't think you should swerve?
They're kamikaze squirrels, because I've got a GoPro. When I had the GoPro sitting outside my window as I'm going down that trail, going up that trail, and one did the same thing, ran out right in front of me.
And you can't swerve. I mean,
no,
there's no place.
No, like if you swerve, you're actually dead.
Yeah.
So it's no joke. This is wilderness. So
yeah.
But seriously, Anthony, that's a terrible comment. You should feel bad. That's horrible. Why don't you tell some funny stories, Anthony? It was sad one. Bring down the mood, why don't you?
I'm sure Adeline was like so upset.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about they had dogs. Dogs with cowbells fastened to their necks. That was kind of an interesting experience as well.
They're
Scott,
bear
what do you think about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, little bells so they know where they're at. And they were very well behaved dogs. Although they scared us several times.
For sure. And there were a couple times they were tied up while we were at the fire where they did perk up, and growl in the direction where we did hear noises. So that was kind of interesting, right? But what do you think about dogs and stuff when you're squatching, Scott?
Well, I think when you're out hiking at night and stuff, I think that's not a good idea to have them with you. But like having them around the fire, that was pretty cool, because it was more confirmation for us. Did you hear that? And the dog's like, yeah, I heard it. I'm focused on it right that direction. That would and it actually helped us to figure out what direction it was coming from, because the dogs are honed right in on it. I do take my dog out when we go out, but we leave her, at the vehicle or inside the vehicle when we go out hiking at night. But during the day, I keep her on a leash and go out, and she helps us find, sheds and stuff like that too. So, and bones and carcasses, because that's what we use her for, is to look for remains of things. But yeah, as far as having them around the campfire, it was great.
Yeah.
What so you kind of parachuted in, pun intended, a little after the conversation, but what do you yeah. Hey bud, gotta stand behind a tree.
Yeah.
I got the infrared, I can see everything.
Yeah.
What so the question for the both of you, I guess I'll interview you for a second. What were some of the things that stood out at the Bigfoot Town Hall that you learned that was maybe not unique to the world of Bigfooting, but unique to the Sacramento mountain regions in New Mexico?
Well, one, I was surprised at the amount of reports we got that day. Really, honestly, usually when we do a town hall, we'll get 1, 2, 3 reports, because then there's the people who don't want to talk about in the crowd that will come up to me and talk to me later, which I had 3 of those. After the town hall, we had 3 people come up and tell me their stories, but we had an incredible amount of stories, and that was one of the shockers to me. And a lot of window peeping Bigfoots in this area. That's not unheard of, in the Bigfoot world. But they had several of those window peeping stories, which I hadn't got a lot of those in the past. That was the one that really stood out in this Mescalero Apache reservation. Was they got a lot of window peepers.
Are we allowed to relay their stories to our audience here?
Yeah, you can throw some out. Yeah, we're gonna be dropping a video with all of them on there anyway.
Oh,
so good. Yeah, in fact, a lot of people's requested us. That's why I recorded it, because a lot of the residents of the reservation who couldn't make it there wanted to see it anyway. So I'll be doing that.
Do you want to relay the story to us here, Scott or Nikki?
What story?
The window peeper story.
Well, there were a bunch. They were all very similar. The one thing that I found intriguing was a specific name of a place that came up time and time and time again. And we're like, wait, what's the name of that? And I have my little trick to remember it. But that's something we're really going to have to check into. And either by Scott getting a connection to us, or us getting connected with Jody, and trying to make some type of something happen, because that was way too many who named the same place.
It was uncanny. What can you give us a little tease at what some of the activity was reported at that specific location?
Well, yeah, we actually, didn't we have a window peeper? We had a dumpster diver.
I think 2 dumpsters.
Yeah, it was like 2 dumpster drivers. Yeah, and that audio that was recorded was from that same place too.
Yeah.
So they're there, and they are comfortable with that area. So, I mean, I feel like it's definitely a stakeout time. Well,
I mean, it's definitely not unheard of, I think, on the reservation, because if you look at BFRO reports, there's one that stands out to me that took place on the reservation, and it happened at one of the 2 casinos on the res, and it was somebody that was working 3rd shift or 2nd shift. They were getting off after midnight or what have you, and they go out the back door of the casino, and obviously that's where the big dumpster is and where the employee parking is, and they absolutely, the casino parking lot's well lit, right, for obvious reasons, and they see this giant 7 to 8 foot thing, lack there of a better term, dumpster diving right there, and it was a life-changing moment for the individual. So up there, I think, especially on the reservation, you have squatches that are probably quite a bit more comfortable around humans, because the locals definitely respect them, and there's no threat from humans. So if a Squatch is on the res, I definitely see that as absolutely something it would do. So, a couple questions for Scott here.
Yeah, I think there was one story mentioned about mumbling the language. We did get one of those, and we did have that recording. That was, amazingly enough, I received that recording 4 days. It was actually recorded 4 days before this event, so it was fresh. And the only way I can explain that one was, if you know what the Ohio howl sounds like, it was very similar.
Yeah. And for those my fans out there that don't know what the Ohio howl is, Google it. YouTube it. It's a very eerie howl that has been analyzed by audio professionals, and it is of an octave that is not capable of being made by a human, and matches no known animal's vocal pattern in the animal record. Very scary sound.
Mm-hmm.
The window peeper, that was kind of one of the ones that stood out to me. And I don't want to dip too much in the chili, but give people a little taste of what we experienced. This lady, it was late at night on the res. She goes to her bedroom and she's looking through a box on the bed and turns, and there is an individual that is standing at the high end of her window looking down at her. Obviously a terrifying ordeal for anybody, human or Sasquatch. That would scare the heck out of me. In the morning, they go out there and look, and they measure it, and the window was 8-9 feet off the ground. There's no ladder, there's no steps. So yeah, that was a very powerful story she told, and she was incredibly emotionally moved by that. Like incredibly. Terrified her. She expressed to us that she no longer goes out after dark, will not leave her house after dark. And it's hard when you see these people face. It's easy when you're watching a TV show and you see people talking about this and interviewed, and you're like, well, that's just a crazy who's making it up. When you see an elderly Native woman recount a story like that, and then you hear it over and over and over again. Anecdotal evidence may not necessarily be part of the scientific method, but there is something there.
Yeah, there's something that I always look for when people are telling me stories like that, and this was very prevalent, is I always watch their arms to see if the hair stands up and they get goosebumps, and hers did. There was a little chatter in her voice a few times, when she was talking. So it was something that changed her.
It definitely changed her. It terrified her, and it's really hard to meet these people Bigfooting, right? And you're like, oh, you're crazy, or you believe what you saw, but you probably saw a big human. Come on, man, get out of here.
A big human with red eyes, I might add. We heard that several times too.
We did hear that several times.
I was going to say there were several who mentioned red eyes.
Yep. Which again is something very commonly reported, right? What is it? Tapeta lucidum?
Tatum lucidum.
Yeah. So
any more questions out there? I thought that too, Browndorf. Oh, another casino. You know.
I think you probably see it with casinos, right? Because they're open.
They have grease traps.
All night long.
Huge grease traps.
And they're very well lit, right? So it makes sense to me. Anywhere where you have, right, like Cliff and Bobo always say, like, where you have Bigfoot reports is where people are. So if you have people, in a place 24/7, a casino, you're probably going to get reports from casinos, right?
Yep. We've had a lot of people say they've seen them there. Any more questions? Anything? What did we miss? Did we cover everything?
Did you cover that the thumbnail picture where you basically Photoshop me in? It looked super awkward.
Did you see it?
Of course I saw it. It looked Photoshop, but I was like, dang, we really didn't take the picture.
You left before I could. Hey, hold on, let me get it. Because
there it is. It was really good. I will add. It had me and my father convinced.
You remember
did I take that picture?
Hold on. This photo here.
Oh, that was good. That's fantastic.
Really good. You did a good job there.
Right in there.
With
he was not there, folks. And you know what? Your thumb got erased.
Oh, I can see now that you say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of, I kind of had a fool with it, but don't stare at it too much because then you'll see this.
Yeah, for sure. Next time, let's take a picture at the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
for
I
sure.
always forget to do that. And then we're always rushed,
Yeah.
But that's all I have for tonight. I mean, I went up that mountain and it was scary, but I'll be putting out that little video. It was more scary when a truck's coming, you're coming down and they're coming up and there's nowhere to go. Somebody's going up on the side of the mountain to let somebody go.
Yep.
And that's the side I actually prefer. Is that when you're going down so that I can be pressed up against the mountain and they have to crawl along the edge of death.
Yeah.
That is scary as heck.
And it's like, imagine playing chicken with the Squatch tank rolling up.
Yeah.
Like you ain't moving, Squatch tank. That's all.
Who would win that?
Yeah.
There it is, all set up in all its glory. Except the shower isn't set up there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You guys are so funny. It was a lot of
a great
fun.
time.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Just camping and hanging. See, that's the real undoctored photo.
Yeah.
That you crudely added me to.
That's the original. That's
Next.
okay. One time I had to put Thomas Steenberg into a picture and I forgot to give him pants.
Oh.
Right before the show, I had to crop in some pants because it was just from here up.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if I ever told anybody that.
Well, to close it out, I suppose I really want to know what Squatch America has coming up because I'm hooked. I am. I'm an official card-carrying member of Squatch America. Nikki and I are workshopping some names for what our chapter is going to be called.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we've kicked around a few ideas, but usually the acronym's too long.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to get with you, Scott, a little bit, off.
Yeah, no problem.
And workshop some names. But what's going on? Where you heading next with the Squatch tank?
Well, we are we're sticking around here for the next week and a half, I think, still in the Cloudcroft area. I've got a lot of video to edit and audio to go through to get done. We're going to get those up as quick as I can. In the next couple Fridays, those will drop. And then we are actually headed to Texas. But nowhere near Nikki because Texas is a big place. But we're going to be up on the Texas-Oklahoma border for about a month, checking things out there. And we're going to be working on doing some veteran trips too. I didn't even talk to you about that, Kyle. We probably should do that because we're both veterans. But we do outings with veterans. So
that'd be awesome. I'd be down.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
And I just want to plug Scott one more time. I just watched your video that you posted a few days ago. I came home and watched it with the guy who was filming the elk. I'm not going to spoil it, but boy, that was a weird one. Yeah, it is. That was a really. That was something. So
yeah,
check his channel out and
but that wasn't. And by the way, that was kind of a 2-year-old video, but that was not too far from where we were at actually. So
yeah.
Bat Mom says, Scott, are you going to Thackerville?
I don't even know where that's at. I'll have to Google where the heck is Thackerville.
Thackerville is. Ouch. So, well, gentlemen, thank you for stopping by and talking about our little night excursion. It was a lot of fun.
Great
and
time.
I think Kyle is hooked. So I think I got me a new partner in crime.
There we go.
Up to the mountains. And we should have a lot of fun with it. And hopefully I did meet his wife, folks, just so you know. We've got the green light,
Yeah.
and
Sure, we made
she
sure
wants
that happened.
nothing to do with it
Not a
whatsoever.
thing.
So we have that in common. My husband wants nothing to do with it. So
Yeah, she accused me of being a nerd today, actually, about the whole thing. She's like, man, I didn't know when we got married you were a nerd. I was like, is it really a nerd to be into all this kind of stuff? She's like, I thought you were just into like superheroes and like Godzilla and up here and all that stuff. I was like, I guess. But we'll hopefully see everybody again here soon. It was a great time. I loved it. Camping with a purpose.
Yep.
Didn't go out there necessarily only for Bigfoot. Went out there to learn some stuff and have a good time, and it was awesome.
And it was good. It was
Yeah,
great.
It was
And,
great. We had fun, and I looked up Thackerville, and we are actually going to be really close to that in about 2 weeks. So
Nice. Nice. Nikki, are you going out camping again soon? Well, hopefully. Yes, hopefully. We'll have to look at the calendar and I'll make it happen again. We'll see what's going to happen. There was that area up there that now I know I can get to. So very promising. Although it's still at 9,000 feet.
yeah.
It's
Oh
still,
boy, yeah.
still way up there. But if you stay more than one night, by the second night, I feel better. You know, I start getting acclimated a little bit. It's just that first day is really super hard for me. And
Yeah, especially for you. I think El Paso's at like 2,000 something feet, or so.
something like that. Yeah.
That's a crazy difference for you.
And then Kyle had mentioned we went from Mescaleto down to Tularosa and then back up to Cloudcroft and then back and then up more in the mountain. So I was like all over bouncing around.
Yep.
But hey, you guys, so we're going to let you go. I want to appreciate everybody for coming in to the chat and supporting us and listening to our little adventures. Yeah, our adventures in Bigfoot. So have a great night. I don't know if Steve is going to be on next. Steve Calls with Squatch DTV. But thank you guys for being here. Make sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. You'll find Scott's channel down in the description. And you might see more of Mr. Kyle in the future. So we'll see what happens with that, right? And, thank you guys. And
ratings.
the ratings of tonight. So hit that like button. Come on.
For sure. See if they like
Okay. Love y'all. See you guys in the next chat.
All right.